Well, good evening. I'm your host, Robert Wilson, the Cowboy Wisdom Podcast. Tonight's podcast is 7 Reasons Why Management Arrogance Lowers Profits. I'm awakened and aware of the dare to understand college education and business education unknowingly embeds conditioned authority over inquiry as traditional education systems, especially in business and leadership programs, often emphasize my way or the highway, nullifying curiosity and innovation, prioritizing conventional success over adapted mastery. Business education often emphasizes structured methodologies, established case studies, and predefined metrics of success, while the useful approach can unknowingly condition students to operate within their existing frameworks rather than question and listen and rise out of them, then focus on the optimization and efficiency and dynamic exploration that limits entrepreneurial visions, discouraging unconventional thinking that fuels groundbreaking innovation. Something I realized: you can listen and question your way to prosperity, but you're going to be stuck in the muck of thinking and knowing from yesterday. As I watch this, and I'm retired, but I worked for 40 years. But I witnessed a lot of jobs and a lot of different things. When the management walked through with an egotistical arrogance and a smugness, the workers actually stopped doing what they was doing to watch them. And they always had an arrogance and a smugness that I'm better than you and you work for me, rather than understanding together we get the project done. And something I realized a lot in this world today is I'm the boss, you're the peasant. And that actually goes on out there. And something else I really awakened to is people walk through the job site or across the workforce with an aura of, I can fire you anytime I want. But the smugness of management stops the flow of morale. And every time I was on a job, we was doing a power plant down in Chehalis, Washington, and they promised us if we got it done 4 days ahead of time, they'd give us all $3,000 bonuses. Well, we brought it in on time, but they shut it down so they didn't have to pay the bonuses. That's something management is real good at, is lying to the members, to the workforce. I'm just going to say that. I've witnessed that more times than you can whistle Dixie. I can't whistle, but management and their word is never on the same page. And something I've witnessed in the last 10 or 15 years, experience never mattered to management, because they always went for the people that would follow them, and they went for young people because they could condition them rather than use the experience to move the job or whatever it is forward. And experience is unknown wealth. But basically, the company sucks, that's going broke. And something I also witnessed through all my time working out as an electrician, management always blamed labor for whatever happened. And yes, we was guilty, but so were they. And I also really opened up to understand management never wanted to take responsibility and accountability for the job or whatever they was doing, because they thought pushing that down on the workers made them look good. But that may have made them look good, but that was stealing the wisdom, insight, and clarity of the situation. They lost the wisdom of the situation. As college students are taught frameworks, strategies, and hierarchical models that position certainty as strength rather than adaptability. Because if you can listen and be malleable and move around and move the chess pieces of the situation, you can rise, shine a fresh innovation. And the arrogance, when they walked up there, they never wanted to communicate. They always had a hierarchy and they had a snobbishness when they walked up there. And 30 years as an electrician, we made fun of it to their face. So you got to watch people with experience. They know how to ridicule you without you knowing you as being ridiculed. And see, and as graduates, they may equate their acquired knowledge as absolute authority, rather than that's an understanding that got them in the office. But out in the field where the machinery runs, them college books didn't really, and computers really never do much for you, because you got to understand the mechanics of the machines. And if you walk out there with a know-it-all attitude, that machine is going to eat your lunch, as the workers will. So when they want to have absolute authority rather than view this as a wisdom entertaining situation and an involving dialogue that thrives on humility and questioning of the workers on what they're doing and how they're going to get out of it, management arrogance walks up there and walks up there and says, what has happened in here? How did this happen? They never step back to ask questions that alleviate the situation. Because I watched more than once when management walked up there and made the workers mad, and they just laid down on them. See, you got to remember, all them workers, the management has to remember, all them workers have 60,000 thoughts, 85,000 emotions running through their body a day, just as management does. And management, it's easy to sit in the office, point out things that are wrong. But however, one thing you can do is ask management if they can do it, if they have the ability to do what you're doing. And that, a lot of times, calms them down or infuriates them so bad they leave. But management arrogance leads to havoc and lowers business profits, because management's arrogance dismisses their responsibility, accountability, collaboration, and adaptability to alleviate the situation. And as management usually creates the chaos and inefficiencies that stifle innovation, that harms the morale, and ultimately reduces the profitability, as management arrogance shuts off their listening. You listen your way through every situation, listen and question to comprehend the wisdom of the situation. Something I really witnessed my last 10 or 12 years of working as an electrician. We'd go into a job and the same people would be running the job. They'd have the same challenges, mishaps as they did before on the last job. Arrogance is ignorance, never allowing you to rise of the wisdom of the situation. And you're going to listen and question your way to everywhere. One thing I can say about management, there is management people out there that are the greatest there is. We had a general foreman up north, up in Washington. Well, actually, there was two of them, but they could go to a job and it'd run smooth. You could take another foreman and that job would be total chaos. It's arrogance and the ignorance of management that creates most of the challenges on any job or any situation. And usually the ones that are creating the havoc are the ones that are afraid of their own job and they're afraid of their abilities. Ignorance and arrogance is only fear of your abilities. And it's also their defensive posturing blocks understanding. Arrogance often creates an internal narrative of superiority, egotistical arrogance, know-it-all ignorance, where external perspectives are dismissed, therefore, before they're even considered. Arrogance causes a defensive stance, turns listening into mere waiting to rebut everything. Boy, that one's one of my favorites. I'm good at that one. Listening to turn my thinking into rebutting everything. Dismissing or reaffirming one's own stance, rather than truly absorbing and involving with new insights. That one, I was a professional at. I was always thinking to respond or to rebut everything rather than listening to evaluate and exchange wisdom and insight or allow myself to uncover fresh foresight to move the world forward. Now, this is a big one for me. I was my own worst enemy. Arrogance and egotistical arrogance and know-it-all ignorance, hard-headedness, that makes you your own enemy. I was good at it, but it wasn't good for my life. Because took me till about 7 years ago to understand my egotistical arrogance, know-it-all ignorance, hard-headed thinking, stubborn knowing, immaturity, insecurity was my worst enemies. But they were the ones that created all the havoc and all the unwanted crap in my life. You know, that was an awakening when I had to admit I created all my unwanted crap from within here, within my body, my thinking, my knowing. So once I opened up to that, I liberated me from me. And that's what this is all about, is liberating you from you. As the ego prioritizes control over connection and understanding. When arrogance drives an interaction, the focus shifts from learning to asserting dominance. Have you ever done that in your life? I have never done that. But that evil twin I got in there somewhere, he's done it before, but not me. Because I'm imperfectly to be perfect. And reading some of this stuff, it's an awakening for me. But genuine listening requires openness, humility, but an inflated ego views attentiveness as a concession. See, I viewed listening for a long time as a weakness. And being able to fluctuate and go between things and operate on a new level, I thought was weakness. That was a weakness to my ego, my egotistical arrogance, and my inner self. But when I really opened up to understand listening liberates internal savvy, tantalizing enterprising nerve, invigorates now-born gumption. Listening and kindness are the two strengths that will rise you to the mountaintop of mystical, magical energy. As attentiveness as a concession rather than a strength. Serving opportunities for collaboration and deepens your understanding as management's arrogance erodes employee morale by the way they walk through the production plants. It used to be kind of eye-opening, actually. We'd watch management come out there. They'd have their three-piece suits up, their nose in the air. The only reason I can think they had their nose in the air is their feet stunk. I don't know. But they had an arrogance, and they looked at you like, I'm better than you. And here, I'm going to explain this to everybody. Nobody's better than anybody. You may have a better, more shadows or more something, but when you stop breathing and they put you in the ground, we're all equal. And all this crap you've accumulated here on earth, it's going to stay on earth and watch your family fight over it. And that's something I really opened up to. And listening in kind and questions are the internal strengths of your trend-setting tenacity. And when management walks through there, they're not walking through there to appreciate their workers. They're walking through there to find something wrong and somebody to punish. It's not really punish is the right word, but they're looking for something that they can really unload on the workforce. And here's the thing. All the management can go home for 30 days. That plant will still function. You send that workforce home for 30 days, them machines are set and idle. And one thing about machinery, you can't take somebody out of very few people out of that office, put them on them assembly lines and make them operate, because that will be, that'd be fun to watch. That'd be a mell of a house. And management has a habit of never witnessing their plant or what's going on in a good way, because they're always looking for something wrong. And we've been taught through school and everything to always look for something wrong, rather than, okay, that's an awakening. See, there's never anything wrong. There's awakening and wisdom to be attained. But we go in there looking for what's wrong, then we're looking to blame, then we're trying to make somebody feel shame, then we're in a sham and damn. And then that, when you walk in someplace, that snapshot, the management, or you take a management, that's a snapshot you stay with until you leave or something is different. The world lives on snapshots. And if you walk in there and something doesn't feel right, you're going to find out that snapshot, you'll witness and use that snapshot every time you see that person. But it's very seldom managers looking for events that are going good for the company and for the bottom line, because education teaches negativity. And college education teaches a nose in the air of despair that labor is always out to screw them, screw the company and them. Yet management screws the company by blaming labor for management's choices and companies' policies. And, the company's regulations and all the stuff they want you to live inside, that's their limitations. You got to have that. But here's the thing. How are they so overdone that they stop production? How can they lessen all the rules and regulations and all the stuff they use and cut them down 5 to 10% and make it a little more easy for that assembly line to flow? Because life is an assembly line. It really is. Everything is in a flow until we get our for me anyway, my egotistical arrogance in there, and then it all becomes a mell of a hess. And man, I can make a mell of a hess too. And then how are companies' policies, regulations, and the workers' amendments erodes away employee morale and productivity. Arrogant leaders often dismiss the ideas and concerns of their teams, creating a culture of fear or disengagement. This stifles creativity and reduces productivity. And see, the two worst words to me, in any job is busy and productive. Because all that does is take people into memory and they go backwards. And busy and productive leads to a high turnover of help and usually creates an impact because somebody gets injured and or something to the bottom line. The more arrogance creates poor decision making due to echoing chambers of I am smarter and better than everybody and I am the boss. And really, if you really get down to it, nobody's the boss because people have freedom of choice and people can come and go otherwhere. But management lacks the communication skills to communicate with the worker in their environment. You know, you can have all the education, but if you can't communicate in a day with the daily experiences and the daily exercise or the daily going ons in your corporation business or product line, you're going backwards. And computers have zero imagination, and business school has zero imagination. Allowing people to speak their innovative ideas, you know, you don't have to react to them ideas. You can let them express them and say thank you and walk away, and then allow yourself a day or so just to let what they said flow through you. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but at least tell them it was thank you for giving me the idea, but this, I don't feel this works. But don't do it because you think you have a better idea. Because a lot of times I've had people come up and give them an idea. 2 days later, they come back with the same idea, change 2 words, and say, well, your way wouldn't work, but mine did. And all they did is change 2 words through the sentence. And it's all right to let other people express to you their wisdom, insight, and clarity. It makes the workforce feel good because a lot of times them ideas, the whole team did that. A lot of times management sets up suck asses and kinfolk as leads, and then them leads are a pain in the butt. Usually there's a guy in a team that everybody likes, but he's really very forthright, but he's a very wise person, man or woman, but they'll never set them up because, believe this or not, but people with good ideas, wisdom, and stature scare management. It's easy to scare management with good ideas because they're afraid to say that, to endure, to rise to it. And you know, something else, good ideas stem from people that are physically doing the work. That opens up to do things to allow people to move forward. And you know, when management binds up, and usually they can never see what's going on, and when you never listen to the people doing the work, you can have costly missteps and resistance to market trends that could have enhanced the bottom line. And one thing the workers do have is a good perception. And when they witness arrogance and hard-headedness from management, they become disinterested in the job and the deal and working there. And see, the thing about any company, your company, somebody else's company, whatever is going on, good, bad, or indifferent, that is coming from you. And whatever's going on the jobs in a corporation or a business in the workforce, that is stemming from the office and the people working in the office. And then, you know, there's the inefficiencies and the waste due to power struggles within management. The I call them autodidact entrepreneurs. That's self-educated entrepreneurs because basically that's what they are. But when management's having a power struggle, the workforce picks up on it quickly. And they will use that against management in a heartbeat. And usually today, management lacks leadership. They think by putting pressure on the people and talking to them in a disdainful way, they'll rise to it. They may rise to it for a week or two, but they're going to figure out a way to kind of pull back and go through the motions and not through the energy of getting things done. As management arrogant dismisses employee contributions, fosters a culture of disconnection leading to diminished trust, engagement, and overall morale. As egotistical arrogance and know-it-all ignorance shuts down listening, keeping things stuck in yesterday's thinking and knowing and knowledge. And then when they rely on the computer, my favorite one, well, the computer says. It's never, this is what we feel or this is what we should do. And now I awaken to understand and admit business and education suppress autodidact innovative wisdom. Autodidact is sovereign valor or sovereign educated, whatever you want to use, but autodidact is an innovative wisdom that will rise the company to success. Management will listen to the workers. I mean, there's a happy medium. They're going to find out they can dissolve a lot of their limiting stuff in the deal. And this is my favorite. This is something I asked myself. Why is management's arrogance afraid of success? Fear of exposure and unrealized potential. Success magnifies everything, including weaknesses. Arrogant managers may resist true expansion because deep down they fear being exposed as inadequate in a larger, more demanding arena. Their management's arrogance becomes a defensive mechanism to mask insecurity. And it also is a resistance to evolution and new appreciation. Success is not a finish line. It's a never expanding frontier of wealth, health, and success. Leaders who rely on arrogance often resist change because success demands continuous reinvention and revolutionary revelations to move the world forward. And as arrogance clings on to rigid authority, fearing that the growth will force them to adapt in ways and challenge their comfort zone. That's basically what arrogance is its comfort zone. As you really open up to understand, the world runs on people. People's wisdom, insight, and clarity will rise the world to peace and prosperity. Books and education and business, that is all outside of people. People's insight, imagination, innovation is the free-flowing energies that awakens the world to a better way of life. And as I did this management arrogance, I had a little bit of a mirror problem. I got to see myself in some of this. So this is more about awakenings rather than blaming. It's just about understanding that there is something out there bigger, better, and bolder for everybody. And it's really your sleek, unique talents that'll show for you to your lazy boy on your beaches of bountiful bliss. I want to thank you, and may your life be as blessed as you are a blessing to me in the world. And tomorrow night's podcast is called Hypnoacuity. And it's really hypnotherapy, but it takes the angst of therapy out of it. Anyway, thank you and enjoy your evening.